It was actually pretty evenly split this year. Which is good.
That's all right.
You want to slide some
You bet.
sheets on down? We just got y'all gelled with gum on.
Perfect.
We're working towards that, right? Thanks.
You happen to have your pilot pants in?
Oh, I do. I have more in my.
Awesome.
Well, gentlemen, thanks for being here. Excited to hear how you come along. $1 for gas.
You're good to go.
Yeah, you're good to go.
All right.
Live and streaming in color.
All right. So our project's name and our organization's name is Dollar for Good. I'm Blake Dowling. This is Jacob Fredrickson, and that's Hokino Armstrong. So the idea for our project came from a website that was built and run a few years ago. Actually, it was called $1 a Day, and the premise of that website was users would sign up and subscribe to donate $1 each day to the website's featured charity of that day. So this idea was actually brought to us by Dr. Gaskin and his wife, and when we heard about it, we were excited to tackle it. So the problem that our website addresses is that the donation process is very lengthy and difficult. People generally don't want to spend a lot of time researching different charities and then repeatedly making donations to those charities, even if they have the intention to do good and donate. Additionally, it's hard to consciously donate large chunks of money. So it's hard to say, I'm going to donate $50 to this charity and then come back and do that again. Additionally, many people who want to donate don't know which charities are the best to donate to and which are making the most impact. And so our website, a mobile-first website, solves these problems. First off, by enabling users to make one-time or recurring donations. And so if users set their donations to recurring, they set it just there and they don't have to come back. The donations are made automatically. Additionally, the default setting is $1 a day still, so it's really easy for someone to commit to that. It's just $1 each day. Also, on our website, one nonprofit is featured each day, and newsletters, the users can choose to receive weekly or daily newsletters that will help inform them about those organizations. And finally, we have a nonprofit catalog and donation activity feed that expose users to these different organizations. So you can see all public donations made, your own donations, and friends' donations if you sign up with Facebook.
Okay. So we'll briefly go over the technologies that we used for this project. So the main development framework that we used was Ruby on Rails. And for all three of us, this was our first Rails project. The reason why we used Ruby on Rails is that that's what the previous $1 a day project was built on. And we originally intended to build off of that project, but we ended up kind of pushing that to the side and rebuilding the application from scratch. So we used Ruby on Rails, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery. The database is MySQL, and we integrated with several third-party softwares for different functionalities. We used Devise for user management, registration, authentication, etc. Petergate for user permissions. Payment processing is through Braintree and PayPal, which is owned by Braintree. And then we use Mailgun to handle sending the newsletters and other emails.
So I'm not familiar with Devise and Petergate. Tell me, are these just libraries or are they APIs? Or?
Right. Devise is a library. It's a gem for Ruby. It's the most popular gem for managing users with Ruby on Rails.
And then Petergate is similar. It's another gem that integrates nicely with Devise.
Okay.
And so on our website, we just have admin and normal user. So it's really easy for each controller in the project to just distinguish which is available to admin and which is available to all users.
Perfect, thanks.
Okay, so we'll jump right into the demo. Just skipped a few slides. Okay. All right. So first, you can see this is what you see when you're not logged in. This is the homepage. You can see today's featured charity and some of the upcoming charities. The rest of what's on the homepage we'll talk about a little bit later. I'll go ahead and log in.
Is this live posted right now?
It is not hosted live right now. This is through Cloud9.
Okay.
So I will sign in with Facebook. Okay, and if so you can see authenticated successfully with Facebook. If I had just registered for the first time, I would have been redirected to donation settings. So you can see we have a few different options for doing one-time donations or donations on a recurring basis. The default is one-time donations, so there's no schedule. You just make donations as you please to whatever organizations you want. And I'll set my settings back to that for now. And I'll be taken to the newsletter settings, so we can select setting for this as well. Do we want to receive the daily newsletter, a weekly newsletter that has the featured organizations for the upcoming week, both, or no emails? I want to show you what the daily newsletter looks like. So let's do daily, and we'll go ahead and set my privacy setting while I'm waiting for that email to be delivered with the first newsletter. So privacy settings, these are for the visibility of the donations that you make. So we want the donations to be visible to everyone, or only to our friends, or only to ourselves. We'll stick with private, or public, sorry. Let's see if I got the email from Good. Okay, yeah, we got the email. So this is the newsletter. You can see today's featured nonprofit is Mammoth Medical Missions, which you can see on the homepage. That's today's featured charity. And we have some information about the organization, unsubscribe link, links to share on social media, and it's very simple.
Just as a heads up about the email, if you've ever built emails, they are the worst. So it might not look super great, but that took a long time to build. So we want to talk a little bit about the homepage first. So Jacob already mentioned that you can see today's as well as the next 4. So every day this will change. Also, you can see this link here, see full calendar. So you can see on screen today, so it's highlighted in yellow, Mammoth Medical. You can see the rest of the week, you can see the week after that. Additionally, you can see next month as well. So looking forward to the future, we might want to change this, where we can take, we can talk with charities about getting on the schedule, things like that. Also, you might notice these icons up the top. If you've ever used Venmo, they might look very familiar to you. You see here that you can see all of the donations that have been made by all users, and they're ordered by the most recent ones. So I can see that Blake.
That was a busy hour, Blake.
I know.
He's a very generous
I was feeling pretty good.
Too, I guess.
You can
Those
see
database
Jacob.
seeds are so fast.
He's also very generous. You can see a username Test. He is also very generous, and Dr. Gaskin too seems to have donated.
Nice.
So that's all. This is the Friends tab. So if you are signed in with Facebook, every one of your friends your Facebook friends who sign up with Facebook, you'll see their donations if they choose. So if their privacy is set to friends or public, then you'll be able to see their tab here. So no Test, no Dr. Gaskin.
We're not friends.
Not yet, not
friends
yet.
You change that.
That's when you graduate.
Yeah. And so then here on the individual page, we can see Jacob's donations, and you might notice too that only on the personal page do you see amounts. So we didn't want to
That's nice.
show who's being crazy with their donations or who's being cheap. We just, everyone's donating. Feel good about it. So yeah.
Yeah. So another feature of the website is user profiles. So if I want to see what Hook has been donating to, and I can see his donations here. I can see that he recently signed up, and he has no favorited nonprofits yet. So let's go to the nonprofit catalog, and we can see the list of nonprofits here. Let me just do a quick search for some. So I want to add Girls Who Code to my favorite nonprofits. So that's added, and we'll go to my profile and see if that shows up under my favorites. Yeah, Girls Who Code right there. So let's actually go and check out Girls Who Code's profile. So here you can see a shortened description. If you want to see the whole thing, you can expand it there. Below here is the donation feed, so you can see all donations and your own donations to that specific nonprofit. So since no one has donated, let us be the first to do that.
So do these show up no matter what, or they have to be public in order to show up in the all donations?
Yeah, they would have to be public to
Okay.
show up.
I wonder if we can anonymize non-public ones, just to show that there's activity. We can
Yeah.
say anonymous donor.
I absolutely agree, and to gain
Yeah.
some traction and say, hey, look at others, if there's enough to.
Yeah, additionally, you
Donate.
can actually make a one-time donation without even being logged in. So the same thing would happen if
Yeah.
someone makes it public. It would say, yeah.
And it actually does say in that case, somebody donated to,
Oh.
but we didn't think to.
Yeah, we can just add that to the private list.
Yeah,
That'd be good.
that's good.
Yep. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a donation. Right now, this is a one-time donation since we haven't configured our settings to do recurring. And we have a couple options. We can use PayPal or card. Since our PayPal account is still the sandbox, let's use a card, and I have a test card number, I think. Hopefully yeah, good. This is this number. Let's make it be friends only. And we will donate. Wait for it to redirect to the homepage. Yeah, so that was very.
So that's our donation process. As you can see, it's a pretty cool website. So another feature that we implemented was that you can invite friends. So our friend Dr. Maservi, it's tmmaservi
At Gmail.
at gmail.com.
Yep.
So we will invite Dr. Maservi, and we should get an email soon. And so also, if you wanted to tell us how great our website is, you can come down to the bottom here. We also have a contact form, just pretty standard stuff. But being a non-profit organization, we're able to talk to Google, and we're able to access a G Suite account, which is reserved for non-profits. So this will come to our Dollar for Good support email. So my name's Hawkinor. This is my email, and I just want to say, I think this website is so cool! Exclamation mark. So we'll send that, and then that will come through our support email. So yeah, so that works too. Did the email come through? By the way?
Got it. Yeah.
See, so cool. So that's basically our website.
Can you show us recurring payments?
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah, so
On the
about
shop.
that. Recurring payments. So I was actually going to talk about this earlier, so I'm glad you asked about it. Recurring donations, as soon as you change your settings to be one of the recurring options, a unique job is created for that user that will create those donations each day over. But what is not implemented is the payment processing for those recurring donations. So we actually there's separate models for donations and payments, because we're actually aggregating donations into fewer transactions to minimize the transaction fees.
so a job will run each day, help us know how much money goes to each organization, but for PayPal and Braintree purposes, it'll just be a monthly
That
$30.
makes sense. Okay. And
So
then,
currently, the jobs are there for creating the donations, but not for processing the transactions for those
Right.
recurring donations.
Is it possible to donate $1 a day to Girls Who Code and then do a one-time payment to?
Yes, you
whatever?
can have a recurring donation setting and still make one-time donations.
Okay, can it be the other way where I have a one-time payment setting, but I want to make a recurring donation?
We don't have that implemented, so right
Okay.
now you'd have to add those charities to your favorites
Got
and
it.
then use the setting for donating to your favorites.
Okay, cool.
All right. Okay.
All right, so some of the things we learned from this capstone project. One is that building off of others' code is time-consuming and difficult. This was especially difficult for us because we didn't know Ruby on Rails, so the whole code repository was kind of a black box. We didn't know how it worked. We didn't know what the code meant, and so we initially tried to just go through some Ruby on Rails tutorials and then understand it that way. But then the code repo wouldn't even run how we expected it to. So one thing we learned is that not only is it difficult to work with other code, but in terms of learning a new framework or language, it's easier to just start building something on your own instead of going through little individual tutorials. Incorporating a filing for 501c3 status was easier than we thought it would be. We actually solicited the help of a student over at the law school. We met with her for a few hours and she helped us file, and she got back to us after a couple weeks. And then once we had everything ready to file, we actually went online to do it and realized that there are some documents already prepared for you to do so.
If you just fill out a couple forms, the government website that you use will actually generate your articles of incorporation for you, which we waited at least 2 weeks to have our legal help draft those documents.
Yeah.
It was good practice for her.
Yeah, and so the first 3 or 4 weeks of Capstone was kind of doing that and struggling with the old code. So we had to start over from scratch, but that was a good learning process. Additionally, using Agile methodology allowed us to pivot and make the necessary changes, like starting from scratch. It was kind of difficult for us. We had a long meeting trying to decide what to do, if we should go forward with the old code and just adjust or start from scratch. So that was helpful to us. Additionally, working just the 3 of us for a long time on this, it was kind of hard to generate new ideas, so we got outside opinions and user feedback. That was very helpful for fresh new perspectives. One of the things that that helped with user testing got us the idea of having user profiles, and so I think that'll be one thing that is nice for users to be able to see each user, what they're donating to, and their favorites. And finally, and probably most importantly, realize that meaningful work increases our motivation and satisfaction. Us 3, we've worked on a bunch of different projects throughout the last 3 years, some of which we felt was kind of tedious. We just didn't really have a ton of motivation besides a grade. But with this project, we feel more attached to it and more determined to make it a good final product and to eventually launch and deploy it.
So we're really happy with what we've been able to accomplish this semester, but there's still a lot of work to be done. So our next steps are, first we have several new features that we still want to implement. One of the most important, obviously, being the payment processing for those recurring donations. Also, we want to add the ability to like donations, similar to on Venmo. For those of you who use Venmo, you can like your friends' transactions. Refunds and subscription cancellations, not for the newsletter, but for those recurring donation plans. We need to make it very easy to cancel those subscriptions at any time. And we need to add receipts and monthly statements. And the last thing, so we've actually implemented categories, and we even have the data for those categories. they just aren't in the front end yet for users to use to filter and search through our organization catalog. So we want to add that as well. Also, the current, you saw when we looked at the catalog, there are a lot of organizations that we already have in the database. That's organization data that we scraped from the $1 a day project. But we want to go through that. There's probably some that we'll want to remove. We've already removed some. And there's also new organizations that we think we would like to add. So we'll need to vet those new organizations and add those before we eventually deploy and launch the website, which we're aiming to launch it in December.
Yeah, so we think that December would be a good time to launch this and start donations, because people will be more in the spirit of giving around just before the holiday season, and December leading into January, a lot of the same people and a lot of different people will have New Year's resolutions to be more charitable. So we think that we can take advantage of that time of year to donate the most possible money.
Also tax reasons, end of the year.
Right.
Good time to donate.
That too.
Yeah. Even things out.
Thanks everyone for coming. Any questions?
Well, let's clap for you first. What questions do you have? I have some. Just a couple, thoughts on kind of the user experience. When you make a donation, you redirect it to the homepage.
Right.
I think it would be better to redirect to the specific page for that nonprofit, where you can actually see your contribution going into the public view or to the other view. So kind of a little bit, get the psychological reward for going there rather than just back to the homepage.
Also,
Also,
the feedback,
it's-
otherwise people might wonder if it went through or not.
Yeah. That's what I was going to mention. We
were thinking
need
the
to put a
same
notice
thing.
at
So,
the top.
Yeah, you may have noticed on some of the other pages, like when we first logged in, how there was a flash message at the top saying successfully authenticated. We were going to add that to whatever page we decide to redirect to say like, we successfully donated however much to X. And then, it's probably a good idea to have
Kind
it
of
redirected
let me
to
see
that
my
page.
contributions, whether it's that not-for-profit or a history of my donations, and I can say, I feel good about my contribution. When signing up someone else, the email looked great, but I would also include kind of the recent donations from that individual who invited you. So when I saw it, I said, this looks great, but what am I donating to? If I see the organizations, I'm like, I identify with this or that or the other.
So
So
would you want their favorites or their most recent
yes,
donations,
it's
maybe?
something where I can see that we
This
know
person's
each other. You're generous. You're making a difference in the world in this way.
Cool.
Hey, I can easily make a difference in the world the same way.
Yeah, that's good.
Have you talked with other organizations that are doing this, not socially the same thing, but conceptually the same thing, kind of smaller donations to a large variety of not-for-profits? Are you familiar with any of those?
We know of a couple. We haven't reached out and communicated with any of those other organizations.
I'm sure there's dozens of them out there. There's one here locally through the Ballard Center. It was the organization that AIS did the service hack for. They're doing something very similar, but for corporate donations. And so I guess where I'm going with this is it takes a lot of effort to validate not-for-profits and say these folks are really doing a great job. I would say rather than you having to go out and do that, rely on some of these others that are doing it, and maybe partner such that you take your sum to that organization and filter it through them, or some other way that you're not having to do the legwork, but that the amount of good you're doing is really on the social aspects of the problem.
Along those lines, so one thought, if you really want to squeeze every bit of donation out of people, there's really good research to show that when it comes to tasks or activities like donating that don't have a direct reward back to the person that is doing the task or make the donation, a social comparison is a very effective technique to elicit more behavior or more donations.
I can donate
what
as
would
much
that
as
look
more.
like?
Exactly. So what I could see is someone donates and takes them back to a screen of their friends and says, "You donated $1 a day. James Gaskin's donating $2 a day. Here's your friends list of people."
So we actually, to avoid the the social contest type of thing, that's one of the reasons why we didn't include the amounts in the activity feed.
Yeah.
But that's also an interesting idea.
But
I
even
want
if
to
we
second
didn't-
that. You know, I think that there's something beneficial in feeling a little uncomfortable
Right.
about, you know, not measuring up to your peers or your friends.
Even an
Yeah,
aggregated average, here's the average donation to this charity.
I like
Yeah.
that one.
It's the single feature
Donation
that
from
made
your friends.
Fitbit what it is today.
Right.
The ability to
Yeah.
compare myself and how many steps I'm doing against all my other friends. That like seriously,
Yeah.
that's what one of their findings was. Something else, a use case to handle that you maybe have already thought of. But before I give any more suggestions, first of all, this is awesome. This is really a great project.
Thanks.
So, but the use case for adding charity. So if I'm gonna download this app and use it, there's a good chance, and maybe this is just me, but there's a good chance I already have one in mind that I want to donate to. I'm not gonna go for the sake of I feel like being charitable today. Let's go see what's out there.
Right.
So if I get there and the charity that I want's not on there, what's the process for me to get that on there, and how quick can that be? If you can do that, that might encourage more usage.
Yeah, true. So I think currently it would just be send us a message,
Suggest
and
a charity or something.
but it might be useful to have a specific, like,
Yeah, just a button
wanna,
suggested charity.
yeah, want to donate to a charity that's not listed here.
Yeah,
And-
whatever you can do to make it as few clicks and easy as possible,
Right.
that might help.
Right. Yeah, that's a good idea.
But for Jacob, where's the Matchbox recommender? To say you donated to this charity, here's 3 others you might enjoy.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, that's a great idea. I think that's great. Suggested
The
charity.
machine learning
They
wasn't.
can
in
opt
there.
out of any of these things, but I'm already donating here, I don't need to feel guilty donating here. And I'm not gonna be as generous as James, can I just shut that off? It's not even gonna come back, I'm gonna be told every day,
Yeah,
you're generous now.
Maybe we could make it a setting where, like, you can see others' amounts
Level.
or you cannot. So you
Right,
don't
so like
feel
Fitbit,
guilty.
I would hate to compete with people, but I
Don't
don't
wanna
have
see
a
that.
Fitbit, by the way, but.
Yeah.
My watch just yells at me.
Or even along with setting public versus private, we could just put a little thing that says the dollar amount will be shown, or have an extra setting. for
That is a very
So
like
opt in, yeah,
male-specific
but-
trait as well, the
Yeah,
competitiveness,
competitiveness.
and all those studies that show that it's very heavily one-sided towards men, which is something to very consider.
Well, when I was thinking about this, and this is phenomenal, I mean, the dollar for good, I think, is so cool. The thing that I really want to emphasize is $1 is not a lot for us, but when a lot of people donate just $1, that's where the difference makes. So I think, I'm with Bonnie, I don't want to be pressured into everything. I think that's why the dollar threshold is important. It's just $1. Anyone can do $1. And I hate it when like the Boy Scouts is like, okay, here, what's your donation today? And the lowest is $100. My choices are 100, 500, or 1,000, or other is very small and I can fill in my own box. So I'm like, you guys get 25 cents. Like, it makes me angry that you want to start at $100 because I might have $100, but not everybody does. And so this is a really good non-discriminatory way for people to donate and feel good about any amount.
Yeah. So we have this on the homepage, but it's a little far down. So we might want to bring it up because that's a pretty good point. That's
really cool.
You can make
Good
a big
line.
difference with just $1.
Yeah, I think one of the big benefits too is that the recurring payments. You know, chances are I'll go to your site once and hit it, and then say, hey, take $30 a month or whatever, and it's a $1 a day. Hey, you guys take care of it. That mental effort of me having to decide which charity. Now, I might get real specific, say I don't believe in that cause of that not-for-profit, but I think those are probably the exceptions, especially if I feel like I align with kind of your general basket of charities.
Is there any, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, I don't know if you guys have thought about this or maybe you've already implemented it, but like if you could say like $1, not every day, but $1 a week or $1
Yeah.
a month.
So we do have settings for that. It's just not in the front end, but in the there's settings
built
for
in.
donation frequency and donation period. And
And donation amount, so it could be like, if you're really generous, maybe $5 a month, something like that, so you can set the frequency, the amount.
just
And a termination period.
makes the aggregations a little bit more complicated, which is why we aren't letting users do that yet, because we haven't finished with the transactions part. But
yeah, part of the plan.
So where do you go organizationally from here? Are you guys pass this off, out of here,
No,
or?
we're sticking with it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a good question. So we're gonna meet before we all part ways.
Yeah.
Hokino and I have a few weeks in between when we're done here and when we start our new jobs, and then I think, and so during those few weeks we're gonna try and get the development of the website specifically done or near done, and then after we start, it'll kind of just be a little side thing. And I know my wife is gonna.
Hours on weekends.
Yeah, I know my wife would love to help with this, and she's not busy with other things too.
Super cool. Other questions?
Is there any place to get data on the efficiency of these charities? That's a huge one, as I'm looking for something to donate to. If I can see that the Girls Who Code is 90% efficient versus this other one is 50% efficient, I'm definitely gonna want to go to
Yeah. When we met with, what was her name again? The professional who met with us, she also mentioned the same thing. She's like, not all charities are created equal, some keep most of it. Others
Did
like
you meet?
to.
Was it Melissa? Was it?
Maybe, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Good. Glad you're connected with them.
There's a lot of cynicism these days too with charities because of the public headlines of
Oh
like
yeah.
was it Kim Kardashian's charity that brought in 6 million and like 50,000 went to the actual charity, something like that. But you can find stories like that everywhere.
Yeah.
But I imagine that's data that they keep really hidden most of the time. So
That should probably be something we should
Well, it's
emphasize.
Tom's
either-
recommendation to have somebody else vetting it, that doesn't mean to do your job.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.